Hey, folks, welcome back to Popcorn for Dinner. This is Jeff.
And Kelly.
First episode of the new year, first episode of
Woo.
2020. And in the process, really the first movie we've watched of 2020 because
Yeah.
we just woke up on New Year's Day and watched this.
Yeah.
So this one was inspired by just like a quick little video that was on Twitter
Yep.
that your sister Chrissy found.
Yes. Yes. It's been circulating. She found it. She showed it to me when we were hanging out. And then I had her send me the link so that I could forward it to you.
Yeah. It's a better trailer than any trailer could have possibly been to make you watch the movie. It's just this little clip. So we decided to sit down and watch it. It's on Disney Plus because it's an old Disney movie. I did a little more research into it as well, so there's some other stuff that's pretty funny to me, like things that probably should have been obvious but weren't. But the movie we watched was the Shaggy D.A. from 1976. First, right off the bat, thing that I learned about it that suddenly made it make sense. Since I was never really into Disney movies all that much as a kid, and definitely not Disney movies from like the 70s and 60s and whatever.
Yeah.
This is a sequel.
Okay.
To The Shaggy Dog.
Okay.
And The Shaggy Dog is a story about this guy, Wilby Daniels, as a kid getting turned into a dog. That whole story he tells, like half an hour into the movie about like when I was a kid, there was this thing that happened. That's the original movie that he's talking about.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
All
had
right.
no clue. Did not look that hard into it. I was just like, mysterious past. Gotcha.
Yeah. No, I knew that the movie The Shaggy Dog existed.
Yeah,
but
same
I
here.
didn't know what the relation, if any, to this one.
Exactly.
Or if they just happen to be dog movies with the word Shaggy in the title.
Yeah, you never really know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a sequel. Like 30 years later or whatever,
All
the
right.
kid is now a man running for DA, and the same special magical ring that turns him into a dog is wreaking havoc on his life.
Can we just start with the opening credits?
The like Nightmare Schoolhouse Rock
Yeah.
animated credit sequence. Yeah, that was super weird.
With the custom theme song.
Yes.
About.
I was like, how popular of a piece of media could this possibly have been to put that much work into it? Of like, did they think it was going to be like a huge thing? Like people are going to love the Shaggy D.A. song because it's like 5 minutes long with super intricate lyrics about like politics and all sorts of things. Like someone put a lot of work into that.
Yeah.
For this movie.
It's
like
kind of a shame.
They had to have like read the script to write the songs. So it's like, you know what was coming. You know the effects budget just wasn't there yet for this kind of movie. And I love that they would like animate the dog's mouth singing the songs, but only as the camera like passed by, and then his face would go out of frame, so they didn't have to animate it anymore.
Yep.
He would sing like 3 lyrics of the song as his face passed, and then the song would just keep going. And it's like, just imagine the dog singing it. It's good enough.
Yep.
I did like that the story was suggested by the Hound of Florence. So it's like they took the concept of like the story from an old story about turning someone into a dog. Essentially, I think that thing that the guy at the museum talks about with the lady and the whatever, like I think that's essentially the story that they're sort of borrowing. So I guess since they're using it so specifically, they have to like credit it.
Yeah.
Because it'd be weird to just be like, I was inspired by this one thing, so I have to credit it at the beginning to let you know. Like, so
yeah, I didn't recognize any actor names.
I mean, I knew who Tim Conway was, but I've never really watched much with Tim Conway. He plays the ice cream man, Tim.
Okay.
And I'd heard of a couple of them, like the names looked familiar, but it was like, I don't really know who these people are. I couldn't pick them out of a lineup for certain. So it's weird to recount the story without actually knowing that there was like a previous story ahead of time, like knowing the details of it. Because I guess that's what everyone else went into the movie with this knowledge.
Yeah.
Because that totally changes things for me. Because there's that whole sequence when he so it's this guy, Wilby Daniels, right, is his name. His house gets robbed, and then they get robbed again, him and his wife and his young son. So in his anger, he's a lawyer, and like in his righteous anger about crime and the DA who doesn't do anything about it, he's going to run for district attorneys so that he can clean up crime. And he gets kind of like really like iron fist about it on the phone. He's like, and I will prosecute all of them to the fullest extent of the law. And I was like, I don't know if I want him to be in the DA. Yeah. He might be better than the criminal one, but he seems like he might be a monster too. Yeah. But so he's running for DA. And in the midst of the whole like campaign thing, because there's like goofy little campaign jokes like kissing the baby and blah, 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 and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But in the midst of it, these thieves that have been robbing everybody rob a museum and steal this ancient ring that is like supposed to have the power to turn someone into a dog. And then he admits to his wife that that happened to him as a kid. Like that he was turned into a dog by some magic ring, and now someone has that ring, so he might turn into a dog at any second. And she's like, okay, honey, and totally doesn't believe him. So he clearly hasn't told her about it.
Yeah.
But to someone who has not seen the first movie or knows that like that's what happened to him, it seems like this crazy out of nowhere confession in the movie of like, okay, so this random lawyer has this crazy ass dog backstory that he believes wholeheartedly and clearly is real because it's about to happen.
Yeah.
But it seems so weird. And then finally being like, oh, it's a sequel. We were supposed to know that already. Oh my God. Okay, this isn't a surprise to anyone else. Like if you're watching it in the right frame of mind. But I'm sitting here like, this dude's fucked up.
Yeah. I would have had the same reaction as the wife. Like, okay. We're just going to move on from that.
Exactly. We're never going to talk. She literally says, and we're just never going to talk about that again.
Yeah. Or we're going to pretend that you didn't say that.
Yeah. Perfectly reasonable reaction to that.
Yeah.
And then they have this fucking mush-mouthed kid, completely unintelligible. I couldn't understand a word that kid said like 70% of the movie.
It was awful.
The opening car ride, he asks like his parents a couple of questions. I didn't catch any of it.
Yeah, no
Not
idea.
a word. And that was pretty awful. But that kid, and not in the way of like the kid actor or the whatever, but it's like that kid character as written, not even just as performed, as written, is a pile of garbage.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I wrote that he's annoying and a jerk.
He is such a jerk. There's a very specific sequence that I was sitting there like, what is wrong with this kid? What is he doing? There's a lot of stuff like motivation wise that makes no sense in this movie. And you can hand wave it away all you like of being like, it's a dopey kids fantasy Disney movie from the 70s.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I know, but why the hell are these people doing these things that they're doing? So what is the first turning into a dog sequence? Is it at that at the like TV interview that they're gonna do, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so his wife is standing, like they're gonna go into his office to do an interview with him, but they're out in like the living room or whatever, and they're talking with his wife. But while she's out there doing that, elsewhere, who has the ring? Because there's a ring at the museum that can turn him into a dog, and the guys steal it, and then they try to sell it, but they can't sell it because nobody wants it. Oh, so they sell it to the dumb ice cream man.
Yes, Tim the ice cream man.
Yeah, who has already been annoyed with the little kid because he paid him in pennies and didn't pay him enough money, and it's just like, you're a dick. So the kid's in the room with the dad as the ice cream man, who now owns the magic ring, is reading the inscription, which gets us to like the first moment of him being a dog, like the promise of this movie finally gets there, because this is like a good like at least 20 minutes into this movie.
Yeah.
And there's so much not dog action that I'm just like, just fucking get to it already. I want to see it. Because
you do get to see Elwood the dog,
right,
hanging out in the ice cream truck ahead of time.
This is true, but it also leads to one of the things that I cannot understand for the life of me. Maybe it's somewhat explained in the first movie, but I have not seen it. So he turns into a dog. The ice cream man, who has this big giant sheepdog, reads the inscription on the ring and turns him into a dog. But not just a dog. It turns him into his dog, Elwood.
Yeah.
Like specifically that dog. And then when he turns back into himself, Elwood just like phases back into existence.
Yep.
I don't understand why it would turn him into a specific dog and not just turn him into a dog, you know? And it's not like they just like switch bodies or something, because he like grows fur in like a horrifying werewolf movie scene where he's like, oh god, it looks fucking grotesque.
Yeah.
Until he turns into a big giant sheepdog that is this dog that exists in the world.
Which that dog is a top-notch actor, best actor in the whole movie.
That dog ruled. That dog did some stuff that I really wasn't expecting, and not the things that a person in a dog costume did.
Yes.
But
we'll get to that.
He was like holding a door open at one point and just like standing there all good with his paws on it, and then like drop down to let it close again. And I was like, nice.
Yeah.
That takes some work to get a dog to stand up like that and do that. Like, that dog's pretty good. Okay, so he turns into the dog. He turns into the sheepdog. And the like camera crew still comes into the room, like, and here is Wilby Daniels. And he's not there.
Yeah.
And it's the kid and the dog. And the mom's like, what the heck? And the kid like signals to her that the dog is the dad, because he talked to them about it. And so now it's like, oh shit, it's real. He's a fucking dog like he said he was going to be.
Yeah.
And then, but they just pretend that, oh, Wilby must have left and this is the family dog. And for no reason, they say that he does tricks.
Yeah.
The like TV producer guy is like, does he do any tricks? And the mom and kid are like, yeah, he totally does. It's like, why would you put him on the spot like that?
Seriously.
And then when the dad starts saying like, no, in a full human voice coming from the dog that characters react to, which was super weird.
We're picking up on a ghost.
Yeah, where's that voice coming from? Like, oh my god, that he's so close to getting caught immediately. But he's like telling his kid, like, stop, like, don't.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do any trick. Yeah, and he's like, come on, boy, come on, and be
speak.
Like, speak. It's like, you are so fucking grounded, you little shit. What Seriously. The fuck is wrong with you? Why would you do that?
Locked in your room without that little radio headset thing you love.
Seriously, that was such a dick move. So Wilby turns into the dog and he runs away from the cameras, and he, is just like running through the street. The ice cream man sees him and recognizes him as his dog and chases after him and whatever. And I was like, why isn't he stopping to try to like get help from someone or something? It seemed weird that he was just assuming that everyone was like coming to get him. Yeah. As soon as he was a dog, he would just like panic and run away. And it's like, you have the ability to talk.
Yeah.
Figure this out. Because I was like, I don't know what he's going to do. Now he's a dog. What's going to happen? And then he goes into some other dog's doghouse. And that dog shows up, and they both are in the doghouse, and the other dog like beats the shit out of him. And then he comes out of the doghouse as a man again. Yep. And just like runs home, being chased by this other dog. Yeah. And I wrote down into my notes, I just wrote, wait, it's temporary?
Apparently.
Turning into a dog is temporary in this movie? It's like 5 minutes or so, and then you're not a dog anymore. It's like, what? Why? Why isn't this a permanent thing? Why isn't he a dog for the rest of the movie? Yeah. Like, would that not be the whole point of it just boggled my mind. I didn't know where the fuck the movie was going with that. I was just like, why isn't he just a dog now? And they have to figure out how to turn him back. But apparently it's just a temporary thing, which then leads to lines later that is just, they're just so like bland and uninspiring. They're just like, something about like, we need to tell the papers that Daniels is sometimes a dog. Like, sometimes, like on the side, like it was so like low stakes of like, oh no, he's a dog, like, for a little bit. Yeah. And then he's probably fine. And it's only until later in the movie when the like bad guy gets it and he just like keeps saying the phrase to keep him a dog that it's like, okay, fine, I guess. But why couldn't he just have been a dog? Like he would come back and be a person for like a half an hour, and then he would turn into a dog at another event and have to run away again, just run away instead of getting help from anybody. Yeah. I didn't understand why he just panicked all the time. Like, as soon as he was a dog, he was just like, I need to leave now. I mean, it's like, why?
Maybe shit went down in the first movie.
I don't know. I have not seen it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember like the specifics to the plot of it, like looking at my notes. So he turns into a dog once and then he's back and he's not a dog anymore. And then he does the interview and he's like, oh, honest John Slade, the current DA. It's like, you're clearly corrupt, and I'm going to open up a grand jury investigation into you as soon as I become DA. You know, he's really prodding this guy who has this dude in this off-camera area, Eddie, that he keeps like calling on his secret phone.
Yeah.
The DA. I wrote down at one point, I was just like, who/where is Eddie? Because it was just a guy in a room on a phone who would call and talk to the DA like, it's not looking good. And he's like, it's fine, Eddie. And then they'd hang up.
Yeah.
And then like 3 scenes later, the same scene would happen. And it was just some guy in a room. And I was like, who is this guy? What does this matter?
Why is Eddie relevant?
Yeah. I thought it was absurd that the DA wound up being involved with the same guys who stole the shit from the Daniels house.
Right?
Like, I thought it was just like, he's corrupt, not like he's literally a part of this criminal enterprise that I am searching for. Like, I thought it was just a general, like, he's a crook, not like he's the crook who did this. I thought that was weird. Also, there was a point where he talks to another dog earlier in the movie. And it like talks back to him, and it was just like, wait, he's speaking English out loud that humans can hear. And then he spoke that English to that dog. And then the dog replied in English. It's like, wait, can all the dogs talk in this movie? Because later there's a bunch of dogs that all talk. And it's like, it never makes it clear if these dogs are communicating with him as a dog, like they're barking and he can understand their barking because he's a dog now. But we're hearing English, terrible Humphrey Bogart impressions for the fucking dogs. God, that was lame. That was so stupid.
That was awful. Yeah.
Sweetheart. Like, Jesus, fuck. But like,
see here?
Yeah, you see the fucking James Cagney impression and everything.
Why did that have to be the boxer? That was one of my notes.
The boxer was Bogart?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I couldn't. It sounded like 2 dogs were doing Bogart at first, and then I realized later I was like, oh, I think that's Cagney actually. The she, I think that's James Cagney, and then the other one with the sweetheart is
no,
Humphrey Bogart.
The boxer was Cagney.
Gotcha. Okay, but yeah, that was weird, and they never explained like how he can understand these dogs.
Yeah.
If all the dogs speak English, none of it matters or makes sense. Nobody cares. So the whole time, like, he knows about this ring that's turning him into a dog, and it keeps happening. Like, the ring changes hands because the ice cream man sells it, or not sells it. He gives it to this woman at the bakery place that he works at. He gives it to her as like a gift, and she takes it, and then she reads the inscription on it while he is at a meeting with his wife of the daisies. I don't know what daisies are. They all wore big giant daisies on themselves, and they had a song.
It seemed like a purple hat club sort of thing.
Yeah, something like that. And he's there to
the daisies.
So he's there, and he's giving a speech, and then he turns into the dog again, and he runs off again, just running around. And what the fuck? It was something about pies.
Oh,
so
okay.
The ring fall.
Yeah,
oh
she was baking pies to go to a function at the hotel. And they figured out from like the last time she remembered wearing it or whatever that the ring wound up in a pie.
Right.
Essentially. And Daniels is there trying to, or said that he'll, give $2,000 to whoever finds it.
Right. So all of the bakers abandon the bakery to go to the hotel to look through the pies, which causes a classic comedy pie fight, of course.
Of course.
I wrote pie fights and old comedy. Name a better duo. So all of that is happening. Again, just like baffling things that the characters do for no reason other than to like make things happen. But when he gets to the bakery and he's asking them about the ring and he wants it back, first she's like, no dice. She's like, I'm not going to give it to you. And then he admits that it's not his ring. And I was like, why not? Why not just lie to this woman to get this ring? It's not like immoral. It's saving your shit. Like, it's saving your life, essentially.
Yeah.
From all this crazy stuff. She's like, what, is it your ring? And he's like, it's not, but I need it. Like, just tell them it's your ring. Yeah. And be like, you got it. He gave it to you. It wasn't his to give. Give it back to me. and just take the ring.
Yeah.
So then he winds up with a $2,000 bounty on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, God damn it, dude. You could have just had him give it back to you, or at least tried to have them give it back to you as though it was your own property.
Yeah.
It's stupid. And then the robbers get the ring back anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
They get hit with some pie, and the pie that hits them through the window, it had the ring in it, and they just take it and leave again. And it's like, God damn it.
But then they get caught? No.
Yes.
Yes.
They get caught. The one guy gets caught because he tries to sell it to a cop.
Yeah.
And the cop takes him in, and then the Daniels family all shows up to the police station because they're like, oh my God, they got the ring. So he wants to come and get it.
Yeah.
So they get there, and there's a professor there from the museum who is like there identifying the ring. And he's got it. And he says the words on it. He's like showing it off to someone else. And he's like, these words here, and whatever the fuck the Latin is or whatever. He says the words again. And then the kid looks over at his dad and says, Dad's doing it again. And his wife's like, oh, Wilby. And I'm like, why are they acting like this is his choice?
Yeah.
They're like, why are you embarrassing us again, Wilby? And it's like, he doesn't want to do it. And he turns into a dog in the police station. Nobody notices except for the bad guy's second in command guy who is there because he just is following Wilby.
Yeah, he's trying to get dirt on Wilby.
Yeah, and he finds out that the dirt is that Wilby is a dog sometimes. Yeah, and he turns into a dog again, and nobody fucking notices or cares, and it doesn't seem to change his life, except for the fact that he like runs away again. He just takes off.
Yeah,
like as the dogs just have this like instinctual need to run away from everything at the drop of a hat.
Like at this point of the movie, that I had a like major question.
Okay.
For the plot, how does the second in command get the ring from the cops?
Yeah, I don't know.
He walks into the police station, and then later he has it for the DA.
Yeah, for John Slade.
Slade,
yeah. Yeah, I noticed that too, and I was like, seems a little dark. Because clearly they were giving it back to the museum guy.
Right.
And he was probably going to leave with it, so I can only assume that museum guy got mugged.
Or something.
It had to have been for him to just have it.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to get into that. It was too dark. So they're just like, and then he has the ring in the next scene, whatever. So it's like all of that happens, and every time he turns into the dog, it's pretty much just a dog. Sometimes there's little like where they'll have like the dog's head and then like two fake arms do something, and it's fairly like silly and fun. Like it's goofy and whatever. But it's not like outright insanity. It's just like, okay, blah, blah, blah. So Slade gets the ring, and he calls Daniels into his office to basically like taunt him with it. Yeah. He's like, oh, is this the ring that you've been looking for? And he's like, oh, yes, it is. And then he starts reciting the words on the ring. Laughing hysterically. That DA dude, that laugh, it was so funny because it wasn't like a maniacal laugh. It wasn't like he was like, like I've done something evil. It was like he found it so funny.
Yeah.
Just like, and just pointing at him. Oh my God. That was so funny watching him laugh at the dog transformation. But so he transforms into the dog, and then he calls his second in command into the room. And this is the scene that is all over Twitter that people were sharing. He calls the other guy into the room and tells him like, oh, this dog is clearly in violation of the leash law and blah, blah, blah. So take him away. And he's like, I've already called the pound, sir. Like they're coming right now. And so the dog will be to escape. Turns, runs over to the second in command, and then in a hilarious cut from like dog to action sequence with a person dressed as a dog who punches the second in command in the face, and then he like makes his escape, which is hilarious. That moment when he comes out the window and climbs down the rope.
Yeah.
It's just a man. It's just a man dressed as a sheepdog climbing down a rope. Oh my God, it's the funniest thing. Like I thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my life until he gets behind the wheel of a car. those really far away shots where you'd see that it's like clearly it's like there's a stuntman had to put on a dog costume and pull off one of those like big wide turns while wearing a dog head. Like, oh my God. That is one of the funniest things.
Because that was when he was driving the like ice cream truck, right?
Yeah. He took over the ice cream truck, and the ice cream man is like, "Oh, Elwood, you're driving." Because there's a whole thing with Tim Conway's character.
Poor guy.
He really is a poor guy. He seems like such a sad sack.
Yeah,
and
he keeps getting fucked over.
He keeps trying to use the talking dog, which it's like he gets in the car with the ice cream man. Like the dog Wilby gets in the car with the ice cream man and talks to him and does not explain what's going on and tell him to like get me back to my family or I need help doing this or anything like that.
Yeah.
He just eventually turns back into a human. And then later basically the same thing happens. But like every time he gets in the car with the guy and he starts talking to him, he tries to take him to this bar and show him off as like the world's first talking dog. And then before he can get him to the bar, he turns back into a person and the normal dog returns who cannot sing or talk or do anything. And he keeps losing his money. And I was like, at what point do these bar patrons like take pity on this man who's clearly losing his mind as far as they're concerned? Where it's like he keeps coming in and putting down money that his dog is going to talk. And it's just a dog. It's just a big dumb sheepdog. Like, what does he do? Like, they'll gladly take his money and kick his ass out of the bar. And then something that I should have seen coming from the beginning. And when I realized what was like about to happen, there was just a smile on my face because I was like, so watching him leap and punch somebody as a dog, hilarious. Climbing down a rope, hilarious. Driving the ice cream truck, hilarious. And the whole time, the ice cream guy has been talking about this girl who works down at the bakery, who is a like a roller derby, jammer or whatever position. I don't even know if they said, but she plays roller.
She's like the
derby.
captain of the team.
Yeah. Again, should have seen it coming, but eventually they go to the roller derby.
Yeah.
And then it just dawned on me as that was happening. I was like, there's gonna be a sheepdog roller skating sequence, isn't there? And soon enough there was. And that might have been like the funniest looking thing I've ever seen of like trying to make a person in a sheepdog costume look like a dog roller skate. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God. I couldn't get over how ridiculous that whole thing was.
His many costumes.
I just wrote, now the man dog is roller skating and driving.
We skipped a little bit that like when he escapes the building after, the DA has the ring and and that they call in like the entire police force.
Oh yeah, he says every available squad car is to go after this dog.
Right?
Yeah, it seems like a blatant abuse of DA power, which should be enough to keep him from getting reelected.
Yeah, right?
Use that against him. So they eventually catch him and they send him to the pound. Couple of things. I mean, for one, the pound stuff is just depressing.
Yeah, that was like a terrible building.
Yeah, just like the whole concept of it as well, of being like, yep, you pick up a dog off the streets and you put it in the pound, and 48 hours later, it'll probably be dead. That was just it. That seemed like the rules of that town is just like you find a dog, that's it.
Yeah,
there's no checking
claimed.
for any. Yeah, exactly. It's just like you get 2 days and then we just kill it, and it's like, okay, horrifyingly depressing. Also, dog singing "Sweet Low Sweet Chariot" was incredibly unsettling.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things, we haven't even really talked about it, but like when the dog talks, it is the most basic special effect in the world, in that they get like footage of a dog moving its mouth and they will just run that footage forward and backwards over and over to make it seem like it's talking. So it looks really, really awkward every single time it happens. So you get this dog who is clearly just howling.
Yep.
And then they cut up the footage so that its mouth was moving and singing "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot." It's so fucking weird. All the dogs are like old gangsters, apparently. Humphrey Bogart and James Cagney voices and stuff, which is just so incredibly stupid. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
It's like, just give them fucking silly dog voices. Why do they need to be like old actors. I don't even like, because even at that point in 76, they were old actors. Like that's not even like current, Humphrey Bogart. Yeah. Like it's kind of just silly. So he gets to the pound. They're going to kill him. They're going to take him to like a doggy electric chair. What the fuck was that? Like, I know they were trying to do the like prison movie, like equivalents with the like lights dimming for the other prisoners to see and that kind of stuff. But it was like literal electric chair for dogs. Is that what they're going to do here? They didn't show you in the room.
I mean, that's what they made it seem like.
It seemed wild to me that they would electric chair dogs like that.
That was intense.
Also, another thing about his terrible family, Wilby's terrible family. So they call the pound looking for their husband dog. And she describes a man at first, like as seemingly absent-minded, like, oh, well, he's handsome and this and that, and doesn't describe like what kind of dog he is. The guy has to ask her, like, well, just tell me what kind of dog and I'll take a look. Like, I don't care how in love you are with this dog. And she describes it as a big curly white and black like sheepdog. And the guy's like, oh yeah, well, we got one of those, but this one's a real killer. And she's like, oh, well, that wouldn't be our dog. And then hangs up.
Yeah.
It's like, he literally just said there's a sheepdog at the pound. Go check it out.
Yeah.
Why would you not?
In case.
Yeah. Why would you not? Why would you be like, oh, it doesn't sound like him?
Yeah.
And it's not even like it's just a dog, as terrible as that might be. It's like, this is your husband, the father of your child, who has been turned into a dog by a madman who just wants his life back. And you're like, I mean, it might be him, but it's a long drive. And like, get your ass down there and check. So he doesn't have to depend on the gangster dogs to like sneak him out.
Yeah.
So he breaks out and he finds his family again, right? He goes back home.
Yes.
But he can't turn back into a person because Mr. Slade still has the ring and he just keeps saying it every once in a while. So he puts on a coat and a trench coat and a hat. Which gets some of the best man dog moments of the movie.
Yes, it does.
Because it's just so silly that he's just like dressed as like a hard-boiled detective, but it's supposed to be a sheepdog, but it's clearly a person. Like it's 3 levels of crazy. It's fun. So he I don't even remember the setup to it specifically, but just that like Tim Conway is like out and about walking around in the park and he gets like grabbed by the man dog who like pulls him into the bushes and he sees him and recognizes him as Elwood, his dog. And my favorite line of the movie is, what are you doing in the park mugging people?
I wrote that down too.
That was easily the best line in the movie. Like he sees his dog and does not question why he is dressed up as a hard-boiled detective or is speaking or whatever, but he asks why he's mugging people in the park. That is absolutely hilarious. Oh, sorry. Real quick, another note I just noticed in here that sort of goes with the whole, like, he just keeps running away and keeps like acting like a dog a whole bunch in weird ways. Like he runs through his neighbor, the Admiral's flower bed, like multiple times.
Yep.
To the point where the Admiral starts shooting at him with a shotgun. And it's like, why are you fucking with the Admiral's flowers? You're clearly Wilby. You're clearly that man in dog form because you talk to people and you formulate plans and you do all this other stuff. And you know that guy.
Yeah.
Very well, to the point where it's like, why aren't you just like, hey there, Admiral?
Yeah.
And be like, I'm a dog now. It's so silly the way that he just acts like such a jerk as a dog all the time for no reason. Like, if he would just stop for a second and be like, okay, everyone, let's formulate a plan.
Yeah.
But he just never does. I realized, I was like, at that point when he starts mugging Tim Conway in the park, I'm like, this is the first time, because he's like, this is what happened. This is what's going on. This is why I'm a dog. This is what we need to do. And I was like, that's what you needed to do like 40 minutes ago, movie time. Like, I mean, I get it. There wouldn't be a movie if he immediately went for help and then they figured it all out. But at the same time, it just seems silly that like nothing prompts it. He's just all of a sudden like, oh, you know what I should have been doing this whole time? Asking for help. he formulates this plan, and apparently the only person who he trusts with the plan is Tim Conway. I mean, it shows that he doesn't really know anybody else, and the admiral seems kind of like senile, so I can understand not going to him. Essentially, they're tricking Slade to meet up with this guy Eddie, who he's been calling on the phone the whole movie and has been in this place we don't know about.
Yeah.
And he tricks Slade into going to meet him at the warehouse where all the stolen shit is, so that he can prove that Slade is in on it. For one, what the fuck? When did he learn about this warehouse? How did he know where that warehouse was?
Yeah,
It didn't make any sense. Like, they never established it beforehand. They just kept having those shots of him talking to Eddie in some random location. And then at the end of the movie, Wilby just knows, like, oh, this is the warehouse where his criminal buddy works with all their stolen shit. Like, how did you find that out?
Yeah.
Did you go and do detective work that the movie didn't show us?
That's not really something a lawyer would know.
Yeah, it didn't click for me. I was like, I don't understand. I didn't know where they were going. Like, the whole time when they were going somewhere, I'm like, I'm not sure what the movie is, where we're going with this movie.
Yeah.
And then finally they showed the other guy, and it dawned on me who he was from all those phone scenes. And I was like, okay, so this guy's a criminal who's working with the DA. This place has all the stolen stuff in it. And their plan was to make him think the other guy was cutting him out so that he would come and meet with him and talk to him, and they could get their conversation on tape so they could prove that he did it. None of that plan is spelled out for us beforehand. He's just like, I have an idea. And then he makes Tim Conway go to the DA's office, or to the DA's house, and act like an old gangster and tell him, like, all I caught from that dialogue was no more gravy.
He said that he's off the gravy train.
Gotcha. Okay. I just heard the next line. No more gravy. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then he goes and he meets up with the other guy to be like, you sent some goon to tell me I'm off the gravy train. And he's like, what are you talking about? We're good buddies. We're clearly in business together. Like, falling right into their plan because the dog has brought, with his mouth, the tape recorder into the room, which is like, if you can run and climb ropes and roller skate and drive, why are you using your mouth for anything?
Yeah.
Because then he uses his paws to click the buttons. It's like, why didn't you just carry that up the stairs on your hind legs like you apparently can do? It's like they just, in those sequences, they really wanted the real dog, so they had him carry it in his mouth. But it seemed like, it's like, why would he do that? He's not a dog. Like, he would probably think that's gross.
Yeah.
He's a man who's been turned into a dog. I don't know. My specific note about this. Why use your mouth? Why not use the obvious human hands that you drive and punch with? And then the last straw for that fucking kid, because they get to this like dark, dank warehouse. And the kid is following them. For no reason. I don't understand how he found them. I don't remember if he was following them since they left the house or something.
He like saw them go by. He grabbed his skateboard and then was following them because they were riding a bike.
Oh, that's right. The dog was riding the bike and pumping the pedals, and Tim Conway was sitting on the handlebars. Oh my God.
Yep.
That'll be in my nightmares for a while. So he's riding a bike. The kid follows on the skateboard for no fucking reason. And all he does is he's just there. He doesn't really do anything. Tim Conway makes noise and almost gets him caught. The kid just sort of sits there like an ass.
Yeah.
The dad does everything as the dog.
Tim Conway also distracted the security guard by saying a bunch of random made up words.
Yeah, made up noises of like chemical compounds. That was good. I could never repeat it, but it was wonderful, like clear gibberish, but just trying to confuse the guy to distract the security guard at the stolen goods warehouse.
Yeah.
That seemed silly. At first when he came in, I thought it was a cop, and I was like, the cops are in on it. This goes all the way, like this is a big, huge thing. And then it was like, no, he's just the security guard that these like criminals hired to watch their warehouse of stolen
the night
things.
Guard,
it was silly. So he distracts the guard. The dad goes and records their conversation and runs away. And then when it looks like they're about to be caught by the bad guys who are just shooting at the man dog as it runs away with the tape, Then an avalanche of dogs comes in the window.
Yes, all the dogs from the pound.
The pound dogs come in and just like,
that was great.
I don't even remember what they actually physically did.
They just like I don't
Right?
remember either.
I just wrote avalanche of dogs to the rescue.
They helped.
Yeah, they helped at some point.
In some fashion.
So the DA escapes. The bad guy DA escapes with his like second in command.
Mm-hmm.
And they're driving away. And he's even still got the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And he keeps repeating the thing. And there's this plot point set up earlier with that museum guy who was like, I'm careful about saying it too much myself because I don't want to become sensitive to the curse and blah, blah, blah. So when they get pulled over as they're driving and it's like, oh, just tell them who I am and what we're doing. And as soon as they pull over and the cop walks up to the window, I wrote down, and he's a sheepdog. Because then, and then they are like, the DA is in the back, and they turn and they look, and it's a bulldog.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, fine. I was close enough. I knew what was coming. I just got the breed wrong.
Yeah, he turned into a different dog.
Yeah, he turned into another dog, and they never really, do they explain what happens after that? Like, does he go to jail? Does the dog go to the pound? Like,
is he permanently a dog now because he said it too many times?
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Will it also fade for him?
That's my assumption, is like it'll fade away and then he'll want to get rid of the ring because it's not doing what he wants it to do right anymore. And
yeah,
that's my guess. They don't follow up on anything though. It's just like, he's a bulldog now, cut to like several years later or however long later. And
long
now
enough later that
Wilby is the new DA.
Yeah.
Oh, right. And they've like adopted all of those pound dogs, essentially. Who was walking him again? Tim Conway and his girlfriend.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess they're all friends after this endeavor, like after this whole big adventure. So he helps out by having all those pound dogs. Like, I guess they adopted them. I don't know. He just has Tim Conway walking them.
Yeah.
So it's like, did Tim Conway decide he wanted them?
Yeah.
Are they just, pushed upon him by Wilby, who's just like, I want these dogs, but I'm really busy, so you have to do everything for them?
Yeah.
Or what's going on with that? Again, nothing is really explained. It's just like, isn't that happy? And they're not thinking about it for a second more.
Yep.
It's like, and then movie's over. It's like, but what about all that? It's like, just don't even think about it.
Nope.
There's nothing more to think about.
It's happy.
The movie's over and everything's happy. What about that horrifying man dog?
Nope.
Oh my God.
Don't think about that.
I can't stop thinking about that horrifying man dog, man. That is, like I said earlier, that is the reason to watch this movie.
It's
really not
is.
particularly funny. It's not particularly like original. Like I said, a pie fight. Oh,
it has its moments.
It does. I mean, there are plenty of little bits in there. Mostly Tim Conway, who's just kind of like, that's why he's such a famous comedian, is because like he can do something like this movie and still find ways to be funny. But the real reason to watch this movie is the man dog.
Yep.
It's horrifying and hilarious. There were parts where I just could not keep a straight face, like while things that weren't like not even crazy things were happening. It's just like sitting there being like, that's a man in a dog outfit. And they're selling it as a dog. Like, I've said a couple of times, it's worth it to watch it for the man dog parts. It's so fucking funny. I like knowing that was like them being like, that'll do it.
Yeah.
When they're making it, like, that's what we'll do. He's a sheepdog, but he needs to do some more active things. So, man in a dog outfit. Like, Oh my God. It's almost quaint. I'm like, oh yeah, back when they would do that, instead of making like a weird 3D abomination thing that would like jump around or like a motion capture thing.
Yeah.
They're just like, nope, dog suit man. It's like, I applaud you for that.
All their budget went to the sewing department.
Yeah, and it does make me wonder, because the original movie is from 1959.
Oh my!
I can only imagine how horrible the man dog parts in that are.
Yeah.
I might want to go back and at least just look and see what that looks like, because it's like, do they even try stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or is it all just dog action? Like, he's just a dog and he just does dog things. Or do they do like true man in dog suit stuff? So weird.
Yep.
But I think that's going to have to wrap it up for Popcorn for Dinner this week.
Yeah, it'll continue to baffle us for years.
This is Jeff
and Kelly.
Vote for Daniels.